Well, I think studying one-to-one with the teacher, this is something that has been very beneficial for me and for all the people and all the students who have been able to try that out with their yoga teacher. And actually it leads us very much back to the real origins and to the roots of yoga, because in those old days, let's say maybe 2000 or maybe just 200 years as well, like the students were mainly just being taught on a one-to-one basis with only one teacher and only one student. So there was a little bit or a lot more intimate relationship, and the teachers were very able to estimate the real potential, but also maybe the dark sides of the yoga students, and they knew how to actually bring that into aligning with the teaching that had to be delivered to the student. And so it's a very intense relationship that was built up and that was able to be created in that sense. And I think it was the most beneficial idea to teaching yoga. And nowadays it has unfortunately changed a little bit, so mainly we are teaching in group class situations. That's fine if for some reasons, but if you ask me, I'm getting more and more into that idea that yoga should be really taught on a one-to-one basis, because we are all different. And Krishnamacharya, the grandfather of Kausthub, he once said that, I think it was Krishnamacharya, that yoga is a surgery, and the surgery has never been done in a group situation. So it's always just one single person that is being put into focus. So the teacher really can bring all his focus and all the attention towards one student and bring him forward, challenge him maybe, foster him, just give him what he needs in order to grow. Well, my practice has changed quite a lot. And to be honest, I had a really nice practice before. I had a very physically driven practice. I had nothing to worry about. I had nothing to complain about as well. But then I met Kausthub and I met this approach of the one-to-one teacher-student situation. And for me, it was a little bit new. Like, I have never had so much attention just for me, just for one person doing one yoga class or doing one meeting with my mentor. But I think this is somehow I've deserved it, I guess, and I think it has changed my way, because what I got is I spoke with Kausthub about many issues or many things that are happening in my life or that I went through already, and so in the end we together found a practice that would be able to suit my desires, my body, my needs. And that was not only physical, it was also incorporating like mantras, and like just one mantra, my own personal mantra, and actually very, very long breathing techniques. So it has been going from being a very physically strong and very quick-paced practice with many inversions towards a very beautiful, still dynamic, but very slow executed practice. If there's something that is most obvious to be unique about Kausthub, I believe it's his origins, it's his family, it's the background that he came from. You know, you must imagine, like, there was this legend. I just saw today like a book about him, and he was called the legend of yoga. He's called nowadays the father of modern yoga. His name is Acharya Sri Krishnamacharya, and he was actually the one who had so much of education already, like achieved in his life, even though he was just something like in the end of his 20s, as I am right now. But like, he had like a vision, or he had several visions there, and the most important goal for him was to save yoga, because yoga was pretty much not existent anymore. Like the real authentic yoga was being stolen. I don't know, I don't want to put any nations for that into custody, but I think it wasn't not there. Like, India was trying to become more and more modern. Maybe, I think it must have been like 100 years ago. So through the colonialization, yoga changed, or it was just gone from the Indian subcontinent. So what Mr. Krishnamacharya did, he went just mostly bare feet. I don't know if it was bare feet. No, he was having shoes, but he was walking just by his feet to the very north of India, like to a very secluded area, to the mountains, to the Mount Kailash, and that's where he lived for 7.5 years with his guru, and he was just being taught by his teacher for many years, just not only asanas, but all that belongs to a proper yoga practice. And so this is Krishnamacharya, and then he went on and he was teaching the most nowadays famous and most influential yoga teachers. And actually, just for a little bit, for example, Iyengar was just being taught for maybe half a year, and Patabi Joy is the same, or maybe 1 or 2 years. But those guys have had such a big influence, even though they were just being taught for such a short while with Krishnamacharya. And now imagine there was the son of Krishnamacharya, the father of Kausthub Desikachar, Sir Desikachar, who unfortunately just recently passed away, and he, after being an engineer for a little bit, or after having studied engineering just as I did, he found out that the real path to what he has to do, and which is very similar to me, is that he has to go out and learn yoga more and more into all the depths that are possible, go deeper and deeper, and become a teacher. So this is what Desikachar did, and he was being taught by his grandfather for more than 30 years while he was already teaching, of course. I mean, it's well, once being a yoga teacher, it's something you never stop being a student, or this is something very important, not to stop being a student. You always have to be open and naive and ask questions. This is something that Kausthub asks us to do, to be naive and not just believe all the things that we are being told by him, which he again received by his grandfather or by his father. So to sum it up, Kausthub is the grandson of Krishnamacharya and the son of Desikachar, and he has been learning from both of those great teachers. And actually, I think he's the most, he's the student for the longest years of his father, whereas his father was the student for the longest years for his grandfather, and they lived together. Like Kausthub has been living, I guess, for all his life together with Desikachar and also Krishnamacharya. So he picked it all up, and it's in his blood a little bit. And so I'm very happy to got to know Kausthub, and I was really fortunate to have seen this ad, this Facebook ad, like being, like, I don't know, somehow pushed towards me in my Facebook, seeking for nothing, but then I found everything actually. Well, what I like most about Kausthub is that he's a very fun guy. He's a very modern guy, and on the other hand, he's very, I wouldn't say old-fashioned, but he knows he knows the antique yoga teachings, I think, as much as probably none of the yoga teachers that are existing right now in this world, because he has been studying yoga for more than 30 years, and still he's quite young for being a yoga teacher. So he has the wisdom, he has the experiences, and of course the first step to get wisdom and experience is to get the knowledge, and he got the knowledge taught by being a yoga teacher for very many years now, and also for even longer being a very diligent student of yoga. I think he's somebody to look up and somebody to learn from. I'm very happy to be with him, and so what I like most about him as well is maybe, so he's a fun guy, he's charming, he knows how to deliver the teaching. It's very important to find a way to the people's heart, and to open their mind, and to make them believe that there is something else than just the asana approach towards yoga. What I've been learning here in India is, even though this is India as it is a huge country, is something very special, because this is like in the direct parampara, Kausthub being taught by his father, and Desikachar again was being taught by Krishnamacharya. So it stays in the family, and now he's forwarding it to as many people as possible, as he said he wants to teach us as much to the people outside as possible, so that he can bring it forward. Because nowadays we live in a time where it's a very physical area, and it's a lot about consummation. And for me, as a being a very critical, I'd love to be a revolutioner, and maybe I will be that at some point with the modern yoga, because I think not the traditional yoga has to be revolutionized. It has actually to be the modern yoga that we have right now available, that has to go back a little bit towards the roots. And this is actually the reason why I came to India. And I was fortunate, I'm very, very fortunate to have gotten the chance to study with Kausthub Desikachar. So, and to do this 750 hours of yoga teacher training. And you have to imagine 750 hours, this is just the beginning, this is just the first stages of becoming a yoga teacher in that tradition. Usually after 200 hours you can call yourself a yoga teacher, even though you have mainly just gotten in contact with your body a little bit, and you got some motivational speeches by your teachers, which is a nice thing to have, and I got that. And luckily I come from a very, very great yoga teacher from Istanbul, who's an American. But he was always telling me, go back to the source, you have to go back to the source. And this is what I did when going to India, and I feel very happy here, even though sometimes the weather is a little bit too hot or a little bit too much raining, but it's really worth the effort to come here, because this brings you more towards the source and to the more original and authentic teachings of Hatha Yoga. So I don't want to go back, actually. Considering that I have had a very modern Hatha Yoga education, those 200 hours I did in Istanbul with an amazing teacher, that was mainly based on the body. Even though he had the idea, and I totally believe in that idea, he had the idea that we have to free our body, we have to clear our mind, and we have to open up our heart. I mean, this is in the essence also what yoga is about, but mainly it was a physical practice. And I liked it a lot, I still like it a lot, it challenges me, it challenges my body mainly. So here it is a lot different. It's a very, on the one hand, very an intellectual approach. I thought after having studied for so many years in school and university, being finished with my graduate programs, I never have to use this guy again, especially while doing yoga. But you have to keep it all up. You have to keep up the pace of your mind, because it's mainly about the mind, the whole idea of yoga. This is what I learned. So you have to engage yourself in the practice to move from the physical, maybe from the body, towards the Purusha, towards something that is more godlike, and that we can find within ourselves, and that I think if we only dig deep enough, we will be able to get in contact with. Since this approach towards yoga here, the classical Hatha Yoga that we are being taught now is, I think you don't only have to, you can go beyond the physical, you can go beyond your looks, you can go beyond how relaxed you look like as a yoga teacher. I think it's also what you deliver to the people. I mean, I knew that's the most important thing, but you can even wear a shirt for being a yoga teacher. So I thought when I was younger I wanted to follow a proper career, and I had the idea to collect as many shirts as I need for every day in the month, shirts that I would get and be happy with. But actually, then I became a yoga teacher. I had the idea of becoming a yoga teacher at first, and I thought, okay, I can just wear cut off t-shirts like this, and it's just important that I kind of look good and that the body is working properly and I can do the poses. But actually it's a lot more, and it's not only the poses, it's the mind, and it's mainly the heart. This is what keeps us moving forward. And so it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how fit you are in terms of your physical body. What matters is your mind and your heart, mainly this guy, the heart. So keep connecting towards it, and we're all going to be fine. If you ask me what is the best in terms of where I have seen changes towards the role or the perception of a yoga teacher, it's not how many followers you have on Facebook or Instagram or how well you can perform certain asanas. It's basically what you do with what you have learned through the knowledge of yoga. And it's this that you have to transform to the people's minds and their hearts, and to make them better people. And actually, it's not the body that matters, it's the spiritual body that matters. It's not the physical, it's the spiritual that I come for, and that that I get stuck in here in yoga. This is why I left the fashion industry that I originally came from, because I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to meet myself, not only what I am supposed to look like. I would definitely recommend to come to India, or maybe look in the internet. You know, we have that possibility nowadays. It wasn't given when Krishnamacharya was around, or it started when Desikachar has been teaching. But if you ask me, the internet can give us so much of information, but also a lot of crap. Like, you have to be like careful what you're looking up in the internet and where you find those informations. If you ask me, go to www.khyf.net and find out about Kausthub and his teaching and where he's teaching workshops, because he might just come around to your country, and I think it's really worth giving it a visit. And yes, I'll come to India. It's worth the visit. It's worth the effort you're going to do. It's really going back to the source. You're going to meet like beautiful people while you're going to India. All the people that work with Kausthub, especially his wife and his mother Menaka Desikachar, they are amazing. And I would always recommend to go to India. But if he's just coming to your country, come on, just take it. It's perfect. Go and meet him. Or regarding the internet, you can go and just check maybe even a private class with him on Skype. I think it's possible. Or I know actually it's possible. And you know what is also very interesting, maybe just as we spoke about Krishnamacharya and not having internet, I don't know what he would have done if there would be internet. Maybe he would be a big guy on Instagram, I don't know. It's just a question to ask. I think I would like to offer her a private class with Kausthub. But not only my mother, you know, like people of all age ranges, of all constitutions, of all nationalities, of all spiritual beings, you may go and come and visit Kausthub in a private lesson, if it's through Skype or through a telephone call or through seeing him in real life. I think it's worth to see that man, because he's a growing legend. I think it's going to change yoga. I think our perception of yoga.